Good evening, race fans, and welcome back to the Racing for Children's IndyCar Series. Fun, competitive racing for charity. As always, I'm your host, James East, on behalf of Team Goon Squad Broadcasting, bringing the action to 1080p, 60 frames a second, as drivers finishing up qualifying. But again, thank you to our fans, friends, and family for tuning in, supporting the show, supporting the broadcast, supporting your favorite racers, as well as supporting a great cause. The Racing for Children's Series is not just an iRacing league, also racing to help awareness and funding to cure childhood cancer and blood disorders. So a great cause again. Drivers coming out each and every Tuesday night to support such a great venue and for a great reason. Let us know where you're from, who you're cheering on, as drivers will frequently have the broadcast pulled up at a separate screen. If not, they just about always go back and watch it over again. As we're waiting for a little bit longer, looks like it's going to be Paul Gibson in the top spot in qualifying. 16 drivers have made their way out tonight. 15 have put down lap times. So it looks like some new names and faces coming out here in Montreal for their favorite showing. And the big question is, where is Antonio Bianchi, the Canadian native, not able to make it out here tonight? Now, he has been focusing on his real-life racing career, so that could be why we don't see our favorite Canadian out on track here. Absolute heartbreaking for the Canadian fans. As it looks like qualifying rounding up for the night. Gonna wait for just a couple more drivers to finish their laps. Looks like it's just Norman King who's still out on track. Getting as much seat time as he can in that number 28 machine. King's last attempt at a hot lap, currently qualified 14th with a 1:24.86. Got to find about a 10th to edge out Marshall Newton, who currently qualified 13th. And King will most certainly be the last driver out on track for this qualifying session. And King comes down pit road, and he will not finish his last qualifying lap. And now we wait ever so patiently for the drivers to get gridded up here tonight, the Montreal GP. As all but one driver have put down a qualifying time here tonight. Looks like the checker flag is officially thrown here for qualifying. And let's get ready to take them racing here tonight. The Grand Prix of Montreal. Drivers starting to make their way out onto the grid. And let's go ahead and run through the starting order here tonight. Paul Gibson starting in the number 1 spot. Finley Fitzsimmons qualifying 2nd. Nico Kopkar starts 3rd. Colin Weatherholt starts 4th. Nick Terrell starting 5th. Jared Ziegler starting 6th. John Kasai starting 7th. Gareth McAllister starting 8th. Caleb Nelson starting 9th. Peter Rettinger starts 10th. Chris Shieldsmith starting 11th. Tyler Dugan starting 12th. Cycling back one more time. Marshall Newton starts 13th. Norman King starting 14th. Clinton Wiggins starting 15th. And Casey Carrington will round out the 16-car grid here tonight. As let's get ready to send them out and make it happen. As always, thank you to our title sponsors, Martial Arts, coming on board this season, helping out with the graphics. We've got Propane Depot out of San Antonio, Texas, a great family-owned business supporting charity. We've also got our good friends over at Nemesis Labs coming on board with some sim racing equipment and helping to take care of things. Again, thank you so much to those sponsors helping out, making this happen, and again, supporting such a great cause here for the Racing for Children's IndyCar Series. Like we're still waiting on Tyler Dugan to make his way out onto the grid. Nathaniel in our spectator area on the YouTube side of things. He's cheering on the world-famous Australian Gareth McAllister. McAllister qualifying 8th here this evening. Looks like everybody's gridded up and rolling behind the iRacing safety car. "16 drivers making their way out. 48 laps. 10 push-to-pass button presses available. Here we go. Paul Gibson, Finley Fitzsimmons on the front row. And away they go as the lights come on. The green flag flies. Gibson holding on to the lead, but there's Nickel Kopkar, the number 4 machine, looking to take a shot at Finley Fitzsimmons in the 2nd place. All your top 4 drivers starting off in the alternative compound, the red tires, the soft rubber underneath them. 5th place, Jared Ziegler, who's up 1 spot, as well as Gareth McAllister in 6th, up 2 spots. Starting off on the hard compound here. It looks like most of the field starting off on the hard black rubber underneath them. Gibson pulls a 4-10 advantage over Fitzsimmons. And Fitzsimmons has already used a push to pass. Maybe not wanting to lose Gibson too early on here, but let's go a little bit further back in the field. We've got a heated battle for 11th. That's Chris Shieldsmith, the number 22, getting edged out by Tyler Dugan's 42, but around they go. Tyler Dugan off the track. Tries to get it fired back up. Looks, oh, and the tires are overheated and around he goes. Let's take a quick look at that first incident. Dude on the right side grabs a little bit of dirt and then locks up the brakes and around he goes. Thankfully the rest of the field able to skate through nice and clean, but Dugan with those hard compound tires, maybe not up to temp, or at least they weren't at the point. I think now they're up to temp. But he will have a long road ahead of him to try and catch back up. We check in on Caleb Nelson, the 07 machine. He's running nice, getting chased by the Austrian, Peter Rettinger in the 44. Behind Rettinger, there's Chris Shieldsmith wanting to get a piece of the action here. We've also got a battle going on. That's Norman King. Looked like he was getting very close to Marshall Newton, number 76 in the battle for 12. Casey Carrington right behind in the all-yellow 03 machine. And you can see Clinton Wiggins, the 26, just off in the background, the all-green 26. Oh, no! There goes King. Is the wing gone? Oh, look at the front right. King might be over here. He's going to try and limp it around to pit road, but that is not a healthy-looking race car. Let's take a quick peek, see what happened to our favorite driver of the 28. Let's see what happens. Is it a bit of a lockup on the brakes? It was tough to call that one. King throws it in deep. Way too much curbing there. Gets airborne. Hard to get on the brakes when you're flying through the air and just edges into the wall. The poor King is going to try and limp it back to pit road as we check back up front. Paul Gibson, Finley Fitzsimmons running first and second. Fitzsimmons running about a tenth faster than Gibson that last time by. Fitzsimmons a very fast driver, but the consistency will be the question. We haven't seen Fitzsimmons on track in several weeks. Is he going to be a bit rusty coming out here to Montreal? As Gibson can normally run that number 31 fairly flawlessly. Norman King in and out of pit road, getting some repairs done, that 28 to rejoin the circuit. As still Gibson fends off Fitzsimmons, who lags 4/10 behind. Now, always interesting to see how fuel and tire strategy pans out here at the Racing for Children's IndyCar Series. Fitzsimmons once again holding down the push-to-pass option. Will he have time to make something happen through turn one? Tries to get set up for it, takes a look at the inside line, but Gibson will be able to defend with the rapid switchback. Gibson right there, knowing Fitzsimmons lags just a little bit behind, but Fitzsimmons showing a bit of aggressiveness here. Very early on, 4 laps into this main event. Fitzsimmons has used his push to pass 2 separate times so far. Gibson holding on to all 10 of his. And again, Fitzsimmons laying on the magic button. Very early into this run, must want the clean air as he, almost throws it away, making a pass on Gibson. For the first time this tonight, Finley Fitzsimmons will take over the race lead. Gibson looks like he wants to fire back as Fitzsimmons drives defensively. Now that's going to allow Cop Car in third to close the gap if these two keep going wheel to wheel. And again, we're only 4 laps into this main event, and these two guys are really going at it. Gibson takes a peek, opts to get back in Fitzsimmons' draft. It's going to be side by side once more. Oh, Fitzsimmons almost snaps loose and immediately gets back on the button. He's used the push to pass 4 separate times so far tonight. Gibson in second has yet to press his. And all the while, Cop Car closing the gap right behind him in the all-red number 4. I do wonder, what is Fitzsimmons' strategy here? Does maybe Fitzsimmons think he has the raw pace? If he can get a bit of a gap built up, maybe going to try and leave Gibson behind, but Gibson with a push to pass still available, I think could very rapidly close that 6-10 advantage Fitzsimmons has built. We've got one driver with an off-track excursion. That's going to be Chris Shieldsmith. Take a look to see what happened there. Ooh, also tags the wall, not at all ideal. As we go on board with Paul Gibson's 31 machine, that is what about a 9/10 advantage looks like in the favor of the young British driver, Finley Fitzsimmons. Fitzsimmons hammering the gas here, trying to build up as much of a gap as he can. Cop Car still in third, he lags behind by about a second. Fitzsimmons having no problems out front, still about 8/10 ahead of Gibson. Very excited to see how strategy is going to play out amongst these two drivers. Everybody inside the top four, all starting off on the alternative compound, the red tires, the softs. We have driver Jared Ziegler in 5th, Gareth McAllister in 6th, really 5th through about 8th, also on hard compound. Fitzsimmons last time by a 122.9, Gibson a 123.65. Man, drivers really throwing it through Canadian corner. Excuse me, Wall of Champions. I was thinking of Road America there for a second. So Gibson closing the gap now to Fitzsimmons. It's down to about a half second. John Kasai has an off-track shenanigans. Where's Kasai? Oh, Kasai may have had big problems not appearing on the circuit at this point. Let's see what happened to number 3 machine. I think Kasai had a disconnect there. Kasai has left the building. Very, very unfortunate. The Propane Depot sponsored number 3 machine will now fall all the way back to 15. Hopefully he can get back out on track, try and make something happen. As we watch your race leader, Finley Fitzsimmons, Paul Gibson running 1 and 2, 6/10 separating the 2 drivers. Oh, and we've got another update. Peter Renger involved in a crash. Let's see what happened to the Austrian driver of the 44, still showing an 8. It must not have been too terrible of a crash. Excuse me, we've got to interrupt this replay. We've got a battle for the lead. Finley Fitzsimmons, Paul Gibson have just swapped places a couple of times. But Gibson either finding a little bit of pace or Fitzsimmons had a bobble. And during that, Fitzsimmons has smashed the push to pass once more, using up half of his allotted magic button presses. As Gibson stalking the British driver, he has yet to use one. But Gibson may be waiting till later on in the race to make that happen. And in the chat, we've put a link as well if you're interested in joining or supporting the Racing for Children's event. We've got the Discord link in the chat. Join in on the action. Talk to the driver. See what type of excellent charity work all these promoters, drivers alike, are making happen here. As still, only 8 laps in, these guys are really going at it. And we did get a report John Kasai is going to return to pit road as Gareth McAllister has issues. He's going to lose a spot to Nick Terrell. Let's see what happened to the young Australian. Ooh, narrowly avoiding missing the Wall of Champions. A little bit too much curbing. And these IndyCars not particularly excited about that. McAllister still up 1 spot from where he started, currently 7th on the circuit. As John Kasai rolls back out on track after his disconnect. Absolutely hate to see it for him. He was running very quick, very consistent in this race. As we check back in on Finley Fitzsimmons, your race leader, Paul Gibson, still 2nd. They pulled about a 2.2 second advantage over Kopkar, who sits in 3rd. Kopkar kind of in no man's land here. He's 2.3 seconds back from the battle for the lead. A full 3 seconds ahead of Colin Weatherholt, who is in 4th. And the battle for the lead, maintaining its fierce momentum. Just about 5/10, a half second separating your top two drivers. Now again, I'm very interested to see, as it sounds like both drivers are narrowly avoiding some micro lockups, but how long can they keep pushing on these red compound tires before they plateau and rapidly fall off? As you can see, Cop Car in the background trying to close the gap. Now Gibson and Cop Car running second and third have yet to use their push-to-pass button, as Fitzsimmons, your race leader, has used half of his alignment early on. I can only imagine Fitzsimmons trying to build up as much of a gap as he can early on. As everybody in the top five has been very, very consistent. Tyler Dugan rolling out of pit road. He did have an off-track excursion on lap 9, so he maybe had to get some damage repaired. And that will put 14 drivers on the lead lap, all 16 still out on track. Building the gap back up to his advantage, now up to 8/10. Clinton Wiggins also coming down pit road on lap 11. The first tire change we've seen here this evening. Now John Kasai has come back down pit road as well. I wonder if he has some sort of problems on the car. Wiggins, he will be rolling out on the primary compound, the black tires, the hard compound underneath them. Starting to see some drivers already doing some tire changes. As your top four, Fitzsimmons, Gibson, Cop Car, Weatherholt, opt to stay out as long as they possibly can on those reds. Fitzsimmons has built the gap up to 1.3 seconds over Gibson. And he has done so without using a push to pass. So maybe this is what we're looking for, a bit of a breakaway. And let's see if Fitzsimmons is going to be able to capitalize. Or maybe Gibson's got some sort of plan here. Casey Carrington back in the 9th place spot. He's up 7 spots after opting not to qualify. He's in his push to pass for the first time here this season. Clinton Wiggins has come back down pit road, possibly with some sort of speeding penalty, is the only thing I can imagine here. Waiting for a pit report to see if Clinton Wiggins did have a penalty or what the issue may be here. Still in pit road after 39 seconds. I wonder if we see it hit that 45-second mark. I think that's going to be indicative of some sort of pit road violation. And yes, 44.73 seconds. Wiggins rolls out of his pit stall. So must have had some sort of penalty. Let's see what's going to happen here. As Peter Redinger also mashing the alternative. The top four drivers still opting to stay out. As Fitzsimmons just clicking off laps. Last time by a 1:23.72, almost identical lap times with second place Paul Gibson. As you're on board the young British driver, your race leader, Fitzsimmons, qualified second. Has gained one position so far, but arguably the most important position you can gain. Fitzsimmons clicking it off, making it look easy. He's gained a 2.1 second advantage over Paul Gibson. As the field very, very spread out at this point. But let's check back in on Casey Carrington. The 03 machine, our hard rider so far of the night, is up 7 positions in the 03. Didn't qualify. And we've got problems for Caleb Nelson. The 07 machine finds himself careening around, dropping back to the 11th place position. Let's take a quick look, see what happened to Nelson. The 07 machine looks like a little bit too much curbing there, but it's going to be further down the track where he has his woes, his issues. Far so good. Like he may have caught the grass a little bit there, enough to send it sliding around as Nelson goes careening. Now while that's happening, Paul Gibson, Colin Weatherholt have come down pit road. That'll leave Fitzsimmons making his way around Norman King's the number 28 machine. King will go a lap down. Nelson has an off-track excursion. Marshall Newton comes down pit road. But the big question is now, how long will Fitzsimmons opt to stay out for on the Reds? He's a 6-second advantage over Top Car. There's the only 2 drivers out of the previous top 4 still staying out on the soft compound Reds. And as we say that, Fitzsimmons down pit road. Top Car will be really stretching the limit here. The number 4 machine, he will be up 2 spots thanks to pit strategy. Let's see how that pays out for him. Let's see how long is Cop Car going to opt to stay out in the number 4 machine. Ziegler will move up to second, still staying out. Fitzsimmons and Gibson third and fourth. Nick Terrell now showing fifth in the number 81. Cop Car down pit road. It's going to be Ziegler staying out in the 57 machine. He started on the hard compound tires. He's going to continue charging forward here. Ziegler starting off on the hard compound. Oh, and we've got problems for Tyler Dugan, the 42 machine. Showing involved in an incident. He came out after lap 9 on the Reds and quickly finds himself careening around. Garrett Ziegler, your race leader, coming down pit road late on lap 18. Let's see what happened to Dugan. In the 42 machine, he's now showing down 2 spots from where he started. And we get a report as well, Clinton Wiggins may have retired for the evening. Odd, I'm not quite sure why that picked up for Dugan as a crash, maybe a bit of a micro lockup. That's going to put Fitzsimmons back out front as your race leader, and for the first time tonight, something's going on with the graphics. I don't know if he's on red tires again. I think the live time is showing him on the black compound. So something may be a bit off here, I think. As Fitzsimmons starting to check out. We got another battle going on here for the battle for fifth between Colin Weatherholt, the number 12, and Gareth McAllister, the number 25 machine. Nick Terrell, the 81, coming down pit road. Look at McAllister go into pit road. As Colin Weatherholt will pull away, Nick Terrell, Gareth McAllister down pit road together. Still going to leave Fitzsimmons out front. Fitzsimmons a 3.5 second advantage. Looks like Gareth McAllister going to roll out of pit road. He's coming out on the hard compound tires. Waiting to see Fitzsimmons just clicking off laps a little bit further back in the field. Things bunching up for the battle for 7th. You've got Gareth McAllister, Peter Rettinger, Casey Carrington all in tow. Not quite at the halfway mark of tonight. But McAllister, Rettinger, Carrington. As the Austrian finds himself squeezed between two teammates. Will be the first to make a strike, is a little bit further ahead. Jared Ziegler catching up to Colin Weatherholt's number 12 machine. This will be the battle for 12. Excuse me, the battle for 4th. As Weatherholt's on the number 12, Ziegler the number 57. Ziegler's up 1 spot. Currently running exactly where he started. So 2 good battles going out on track right now. Colin Weatherholt, Jared Ziegler. The battle for 4th. McAllister, Rettinger, Carrington will be the 3-car battle for 7th. As Ziegler hits the push to pass for his first time tonight, trying to stay in the draft line as long as he possibly can. It's going to be a drag race into the next right-hander. And Ziegler will come out on top. Meanwhile, looks like Rettinger and McAllister. No, excuse me, that's going to be Rettinger and Carrington going at it. As McAllister, the other bright yellow number 25 machine, stretches his legs in 8th. Let's see Rettinger, who's tucked in right behind Carrington, can make something happen. Or if Carrington will rejoin his teammate, McAllister, try and work together, get a bit of a breakaway. As it looks like Rettinger very slowly losing the tail of the 2 teammates, McAllister and Carrington, who are starting to link up together. Ooh, looks like McAllister with a big lockup there. And we've got a battle between 2 teammates for the 7th place spot. It's Gareth McAllister, Casey Carrington. Which teammate's going to come out on top? McAllister on the hard compound rubber, Carrington on the softs. McAllister came in on lap 19, Carrington lap 16. So in theory, McAllister's tires should carry him just a little bit further. Now these 2 drivers have raced with and against each other all across iRacing in different circuits, different venues, and different cars. So good to see the Australian of McAllister and the Oval Pro Carrington going at it. Another lockup from McAllister, as it looks like Carrington almost dipped the wheel into the dirt there. Gotta be mindful, these Indy cars love traction and hate anything that's gonna upset them. These are definitely the two closest drivers we have out on track. Norman King coming out of pit road, repairing some damage on the number 28 machine to stay in it. Trying to turn as many laps as he possibly can for charity, as we are 25 laps left to go at the Grand Prix of Montreal here for the Racing for Children's IndyCar Series, only on iRacing. As it looks like McAllister starting to peel just a little bit difference away from his teammate Carrington. But let's check back in on Finley Fitzsimmons, your race leader. He's pulled a 3.4-second advantage over Paul Gibson. And he's going to have a little bit of lap traffic to contend with. I think that's going to be Marshall Newton. Just ahead of your race leader as we're on board your race leader, Finley Fitzsimmons. 3.4-second advantage behind him. But a little bit of traffic ahead. Ooh, aggressively using the curbing there. And look at this, a battle between teammates. Carrington and McAllister side by side, wheel to wheel. McAllister will hold on to it, fending off his teammate. And this is a good one, ladies and gentlemen. Bill McAllister Carrington at it. Looks like Peter Renger, the number 44, well. And we did also get another report that Marshall Newton involved in an incident. Let's take a look, see what happened to Newton. See what's taking an eye out on that 76 machine. Oh, way off track there. I think, you know what that was? That was a gentlemanly move. I'm not sure if that's a real word or not, but we're going to make it so. That was Marshall Newton hopping out of the way of race leader Finley Fitzsimmons to allow him by. Nice, clear, and uncontested. As Carrington and McAllister continue to put on the show here at the Racing for Children's IndyCar Series, the two teammates, a very fierce battle for 7th, but all the while, keep an eye out, Peter Renger in that 44 machine, closing the gap to the two teammates. It was about 3 seconds at one point, and Renger has whittled it down to about 1.5. Going to be interesting to see if Renger can eventually close the gap here, interject himself into that party for 7th. Renger has used that push to pass 6 different times thus far. Well, let's make it 7. Renger hammering the button once more. It's going to be tough, though, to overcome that gap when McAllister and Carrington are linked up nose to tail. The draft helping each other out just a little bit. Kasai comes back down pit road. And try as he might, Renger not quite able to close that gap as McAllister and Carrington continue to stay linked up nose to tail. Laps left to go, still a half second between McAllister and Carrington at this point of the race. Two teammates, 2 different tire strategies. And as a reminder, Carrington did not qualify this evening, and he's still already up 8 positions gained, sitting squarely in 8th behind teammate McAllister. Oh, right off the back wing of McAllister. Rettinger's still 1.7 seconds back, hammering the push to pass. He wants to close the gap to these two. As it looks like, I thought McAllister may have made a mistake here as they go back and forth, back and forth. Carrington with the reds trying to make the track a little bit smaller, but McAllister defending heavily, and here comes Peter Rettinger to join the party. Oh, Carrington gets a little bit loose there. Starts to slide off, able to correct himself, so McAllister will hold on to him for a little while longer. Here comes Peter Rettinger, the number 44 machine. Now this is in the battle for the lead, ladies and gentlemen. This is the 3-car battle for 7th late into the race. And these guys are absolutely going at it here. Now, let's see, will Rettinger have a little bit of luck? He's been really hammering that push to pass to close the gap, but what he really needed already happened. Carrington and McAllister having a few bobbles amongst each other, allowing the Austrian to catch up. Oh, and here we go again between McAllister and Carrington. The teammates will just not yield to each other. McAllister on the hard compound, Carrington on the alternatives. Oh, and what's that? Casey Carrington takes an alternative line. And that's going to give the 7th place spot, or allow, I should say, McAllister to hold on to that spot. Well, let's take a look, see what just happened to Carrington. Almost looked like he was going to cut through the grass there. We're watching. It's McAllister, Carrington, Rettinger in this 3-car pack. And, oh, this is almost a white-knuckle moment. Luckily, Carrington had the foresight to pull off track as quickly as he possibly could. Otherwise, McAllister and Rettinger were going to come barreling in. And now McAllister's not going to have any team support as Rettinger puts the pressure on in the battle for 7th. Your race leader, Finley Fitzsimmons, still 2.5 seconds up over Paul Gibson. Gibson has a 10.2 second advantage over Cop Car in 3rd. As it almost sounded like McAllister may have tagged the wall there. Where did McAllister go? A big blank. Let's see how this is going to go. Finley Fitzsimmons, your race leader, using the push to pass to maybe carry a little bit more speed after a bit of a bobble because Gibson rapidly closed the distance. Or you know what it is Fitzsimmons finding himself tied up with traffic. I think that's going to be Caleb Nelson's 07 machine. Yes, it is, as Nelson hops out of the way for the race leader. Well done to him, respecting the blue flag. Now let's see how this is going to work out for Paul Gibson in the 31 machine. Gibson will have to drive through the same amount of traffic, but it's always a little bit of a luck on where you find drivers in front of you. Your top three, Fitzsimmons, Gibson, Kopkar, all in the hard compound rubber underneath them. And it looks like not necessarily an easy track to make passes. Again, well done to Nelson, allowing Gibson by as quick as he possibly could, holding track right to allow that second place driver of Gibson through nice and easy. 17 laps left to go here at Montreal. And Gibson smells blood in the water, trying to track down Finley Fitzsimmons, your race leader. The gap now down to 1.2 seconds. Gibson has yet to use his push to pass so far tonight. Fitzsimmons has used his 6 different times so far. So it's going to be interesting to see if Gibson starts using that button in rapid succession. Will he be able to close the gap? Looks like he's not going to need it. Closing the gap very briefly down to a half second. And still getting great drive out of the corner, trying to track down Fitzsimmons. 16 laps left to go. I think we're still going to have a great battle for the lead by the time it's all said and done here. The gap to your race leader, Finley Fitzsimmons, Paul Gibson in second, now down to a half second. 16 laps left to go. Fitzsimmons last came in on lap 16. Gibson on lap 15. We're about 32 laps into this. When will be the next pit stop for the top 2 drivers at the Racing for Children's IndyCar Series? We've whittled it down to 10 drivers on the lead lap. 14 still out on track as Fitzsimmons and Gibson both lock up the brakes coming down pit road. Will either driver get a penalty for that aggressive pit entry? And speaking of aggressive pit entry, here comes Kopkar, getting it slowed down in time as well. So the top 3 drivers all down pit road together. This should leave them plenty of fuel to make it out till the end. Jared Ziegler stays out again on a different strategy. His last pit stop was on lap 18 as Gibson, Fitzsimmons, Kopkar, Weatherholt all in pit road together. And it looks like Gibson is going to take over the race lead here from Fitzsimmons. 4 seconds faster on pit road. What happened to Fitzsimmons? What is the difference there that allowed Gibson to get out so much faster? Now we think Ziegler, your race leader, is going to have to come in the next couple of laps to splash off to make it till the end. Uh-oh, there's Marshall Newton finding himself in a precarious position, the 76. What happened to our good friend Marshall with martial arts? Oh, too much curbing. Around he goes. And unfortunately smashes up the rear wing of that Indy car. Well, he will most likely have to come down pit road once more. We also get a battle from 5th out on track. Nick Terrell, Colin Weatherholt, separated by 0.2 of a second. Jared Ziegler, your race leader, comes in for his final pit stop of the night. Here comes Weatherholt, a big lunge up the inside line. As Terrell will fall back to 6th. Weatherholt takes over the top 5. Gibson, your race leader, is 3.8 seconds ahead of Fitzsimmons. That was all time that Gibson found on pit road. Nick Terrell, Peter Rettinger on their final stops. Fitzsimmons still showing the hard compound on live timing, but showing the reds on his machine. I wonder if there's some sort of error going on here, either with timing or maybe something with a graphical error perhaps, that shows Fitzsimmons still on reds after his lap 33 stop. As Paul Gibson, the doctor, just clicks off the fastest lap of the race, a 1:21.63, finding a full 10th and a half on Fitzsimmons' fastest lap of the night. Caleb Nelson, things are going from bad to worse for the number 07. Was he leaving pit road during that crash? No, he was clean and out on track, but still had some sort of issues here. And once again, the curbing really biting these drivers and just slightly edging into the wall. And again, I can't stress enough, these Indy cars do not handle any sort of damage, but talking about fast laps, Colin Weatherholt, back in 5th place, the number 12 machine, clicks off a 1:21.53 with 13 laps left to go. The lap time's getting faster and faster here at Montreal. And great racing all across the track. Here's Chris Shields and Nick Terrell batting for the 5th place spot. Both drivers on red compounds. Terrell on much fresher tires, 16 lap newer. As Shieldsmith, a bit of a bobble. Terrell goes around the long way. Terrell picking up the 6th place spot. And Terrell's going to try and extend that gap rather quickly, going a little bit further back in the field. You've got Gareth McAllister, Peter Rettinger battling for the 8th place position. Less than 4/10 separating these two drivers. Let's see what's going to happen here. Chris Shieldsmith comes down pit road in lap 32. This should be his final planned stop of the night. And McAllister and Rettinger should be able to pick up a spot if they can make their way around Shieldsmith, who's still on pit road, the number 22 machine. Now we think both McAllister and Rettinger will be good to go till the end on fuel here. As McAllister came in on lap 35, Rettinger on lap 34, and yes, they pick up the spot from Shieldsmith, who drops down to 10th. As Carrington also moves up a little bit further inside the top 10. Carrington in 9th, still the hard charger of the night. He is up 7 spots in the 03, still 9th out on the circuit. And Caleb Nelson, the 07 machine, has retired back to pit road. Unfortunately, he will be done and out of today's main event. As we're on board the Austrian, Peter Rettinger, lagging about 4.5 tenths behind McAllister. McAllister has 8 push-to-pass presses remaining. Rettinger only has the 1, but a lockup from McAllister may make it a little bit easier here for Rettinger. Both drivers knowing 7th will be about the best they can finish unless somebody crashes out. Nick Terrell in 6th, almost 20 seconds ahead of this battle for 7th. Wall of Champions dangerously close to those right side wheels. Just a couple inches of miscalculation is enough to wad up these race cars and send them back home early to watch their friends finish up. Checking back in on Paul Gibson. Almost a 7-second advantage over Fitzsimmons. Now I'm curious to ask Gibson if he finishes on the podium, if I get the opportunity to talk to him. He has not used the push to pass so far tonight in that number 31 machine. Maybe doesn't feel the need for it. Because in the race leader's defense, he has been absolutely hauling the mail without needing it. As we cycle back, what could be one of the few remaining battles, Chris Shieldsmith closing the gap to Casey Carrington, the bright yellow 03 machine. Shieldsmith in the gray, and I'd call that baby blue or teal, the 22 machine. These two drivers were very briefly down to about 2/10 between each other. The gap builds back up to 3/4 of a second. Both drivers on the alternative sticky compound. No, it looks like Shieldsmith on blacks, Carrington on reds. And we got a report as well, Paul Gibson with 9 laps left to go, starting to finally use the push to pass. Maybe chasing a fast lap time here at the end of this main event. As we see the gap go back and forth between Carrington and Shieldsmith. Right now it's 8/10. It was just a second ago down to 4/10. Now they may be able to see Rettinger and McAllister ahead of them. And that always helps a racer having that rabbit to chase. That's Paul Gibson, your race leader, once again mashing the push to pass. Looks like Shieldsmith maybe not quite able to throw the car around as quickly as Carrington. That could very well be the difference between tire compounds these drivers have chosen to round out their final stint. We still have 13 drivers out on track. As we check in with Gibson, a comfortable 8.5 second advantage. That leaves only 10 drivers on the lead lap, and right as we panned away, we've got to go back. Shieldsmith and Carrington, a heated battle for ninth. Shieldsmith looks to the inside line. Carrington dips into the grass, nowhere to go. Shieldsmith takes over the 9th place spot. Carrington falls back to 10. And with only 8 laps left to go, these guys are still just absolutely going at it. Speaking of going at it, there's Gareth McAllister, Peter Rettinger. Can't get away from each other in the battle for 7th. McAllister mashes the push to pass. He wants to build up a bit of a gap, using lap traffic and their draft to his advantage, stretching the distance to about a second between himself and Rettinger, who still sits in 8th, stalking the young Australian. Ooh, Rettinger with a bit of a problem there. Asking on McAllister to extend that gap to 1.6 seconds. But let's go a lap on board with Paul Gibson, the doctor. And we'll just listen to the engine hum here as Gibson looks to set another fast lap. That is what a 122.86 looks like from Paul Gibson, your race leader. As he comes up on a bit of traffic, I think that's going to be Casey Carrington just ahead. So it looks like before this thing's all said and done, Gibson's going to make it at least one more driver finishing a lap down, quickly closing the gap to Carrington's 03, the easy to spot 03 bright yellow. Carrington's still having a fantastic race in 10th. He's up 6 spots from where he didn't qualify, not putting down a qualifying time tonight. And I think Gibson's going to be very careful here. 6 laps left to go. Not wanting to put that 31 machine, who's definitely been one of the fastest drivers here tonight, in the vortex of danger. So I think Gibson's going to pick his passes very, very mindfully. Paul Gibson very carefully working his way through here. 5 laps left to go at the Montreal Grand Prix. Gibson seems to be using about 1 push to pass per lap, using all of his allotment in the final 10 laps. Carrington fights to stay on the lead lap in the 03 machine. And not too far ahead of your race leader cutting through traffic. Redinger still right there with McAllister, a half second separating the two. You can also see Chris Shieldsmith in the background. He's 1 second back from this battle. And if McAllister and Redinger start battling here, it could very well be a 3-car battle for 7th. And I don't think Carrington's quite out of it yet as well. When or where will Redinger try and make a pass? He has no more push-to-pass options available to him here. Tucked in behind McAllister. McAllister still has 5 presses in his back pocket. As Chris Shieldsmith closes the gap at 9th, he's also got 5 push-to-passes available. Not a lot of laps left to make something happen. There's 4 laps left to go. McAllister's going to try and stay as consistent as he possibly can here. Paul Gibson, your race leader, has a very comfortable 10.8 second advantage over Finley Fitzsimmons. Top car in 3rd is about 6 seconds back from Fitzsimmons. As we continue watching this 3-car battle for 7th, McAllister with a big mistake. Redinger tries to capitalize, unable to do so. McAllister quickly hops on the push-to-pass to try and build back up some sort of advantage, a little bit of a buffer room, as Redinger and Shieldsmith rapidly closing the gap right behind him. Oh, this is going to be heated. Redinger looking for any way around the Australian driver, the 25 machine he can possibly find. Redinger knows if he's not moving forward, Chris Shieldsmith in 9th will happily move him at least 1 spot backwards. As the field is getting a little bit dicey here. There's Paul Gibson, your race leader. He's right behind this 3-car battle. Now, while the blue flag is probably out for the race leaders, these guys do have their race going on, so it's going to be very tough to hop out of the way, especially with 3 laps left to go. Not sure what Gibson is here. If he's going to be happy just following along and watching the show unfold, but he's got to be careful if these drivers in front of him have a mistake or worse, an incident. That is not going to leave that 31 machine, your race leader, anywhere to go. And look how stacked up the field is right in front of Gibson. I think with that 13.3 second advantage, Gibson's going to be happy just taking it easy and watching this unfold. Oh no, right as I say that, Norman King locks up the brakes. And it looked like Carrington almost got into him there. Let's take a look. That was extremely close for Carrington. On board the number 03 machine of Casey Carrington. Far on the left side of the track. But wait for this as King is going to throw it away in front of him. Carrington looking for an opening, does a great job slowing way down. Not a lot of room there at the wall of championship. And there is a little bit of contact, a little bit of tire rub from Carrington. I can't believe he got through that one okay. And I think that might have been a wake-up call for Paul Gibson saying, you know what, let's just watch this thing unfold because it's a little bit too dangerous, too risky to try and muscle his way through. And the lap times certainly reflect that. Gibson's last time by a 125.86, 4.2 seconds off his fastest lap of the race. So Gibson, your race leader, who has built up an 11.6 second advantage, is going to be more than content just following along and watching the show. White flag is out for Paul Gibson, the doctor, piloting the number 31 machine. He's got an 11.2 second margin over Fitzsimmons. Fitzsimmons has only 3.5 seconds ahead of Cop Car. Now Fitzsimmons does have a handful, about 4 push-to-passes remaining. So he may very well be able to fend off Cop Car and hold on to his second place position here. Gibson still just watching this battle for 8th unfold in front of him. And I think he's going to take it nice and easy. A very wise decision, especially after he saw his race lead almost thrown away with drivers throwing it into the wall. And just like that, the checkered flag is out. Paul Gibson will bring home the win here at Canada for the Montreal Grand Prix. Fitzsimmons will bring home a second, and Cop Car will round out the top 3. What a race, action-packed all the way around. And Paul Gibson gonna make it back-to-back so far this season. And I believe may take away the points lead from Colin Weatherholt. We'll have to see how that one goes. Weatherholt, your points leader before tonight, finished in 5th. The points continue to tighten up here at the Racing's for Children's IndyCar Series. As we've got Paul Gibson ready to go in the staging area, we're still waiting on Finley Fitzsimmons and Nickel Cop Car to make their way up into the booth. Just waiting on Cop Car at the moment. And it looks like the gang is all here. Up first, we're going to get Nickel Cop Car bringing home the third and the number 4 machine. Cop Car, it looked like you had a pretty easy race at one point. It started to slowly close the gap on Fitzsimmons, but for the most part, it looked like you were kind of out there in no man's land enjoying some clean air in Canada.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I think Jared was really pushing me, so I wasn't really relaxing. I was trying to push as hard as I could. But yeah.
Now, a great race all the way around, gaining some much-needed points. And now, correct me if I'm wrong, this is your best finish of the season, right? Because I believe last week at Belle Isle, you finished, or a couple weeks ago, you finished 12th after a big incident. So how does it feel to be kind of turning that luck around and finishing on the podium for the first time?
Yeah, it feels pretty good. And I mean, we have such a big field. It's fun to race with all of these guys as well, you know.
Yeah, very clean racing all the way around. And doesn't matter if it's for first or ninth. We saw some great racing out there. Nickel, how do you think the strategy came into play tonight? Were you pretty happy with the strategy you laid out and followed, or do you wish you could have switched it up a little bit?
No, I think we switched it up a little bit in the race. We were planning to short stop the first stint, but seems like but we went all the way, and yeah, that seemed to work out pretty good for us. I think both the tires were pretty comparable towards the end of the stint, so yeah, it didn't play too much into my strategy, I think.
Well, hey, a great race all the way around, and welcome to the podium room for the first time. Before I let you sign off and celebrate, who do you want to give a shout out to that helped make this evening possible for you?
I think all of PG-13, so I'm part of PG-13 as well. So they told me about this league, and it's sure been fun. So shout out to all the PG-13 guys in here.
Awesome. Welcome to the family. Welcome to the podium, and we're real glad to have you, and hope to have you back up here more often, my friend.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for the broadcast.
Very welcome, my friend. That was Cop Car finishing a third. Up next, Finley Fitzsimmons bringing home a second. Finley aggressively on the push-to-pass button early on tonight, then seemed like you backed off of it about mid to late in the race. What was the strategy on where you were going to lot those presses throughout tonight?
Really, I was just trying to use it to get past Paul. That was my main thing, and I left 4 or 5, I think, afterwards. So I kept some in reserve, but really I just wanted to get past Paul because that's where I wanted to be.
And Finley, somehow, I missed it in the broadcast, so I'm not sure what happened. Somehow Paul was able to gain 4 seconds, a little bit over 4 seconds off of you on that lap 33 pit stop. What happened for you out there? Did you overfuel the car, or what led to such a long pit stop?
So basically, I netcoded the wall and got a little bit of right front wing damage into the Wall of Champions. That was with 2 or 3 laps remaining of the stint. So I just tried to drag it out and maybe get it in the pit stop. But for some reason, it said my fast repair has already been used, even though, well, I didn't use it. So I had to replace the front wing, which was an extra 5 seconds in the pit stop.
Now, after replacing that wing, did you feel any noticeable difference in the car, or was it pretty much good to go at that point?
It was good to go, but my pit crew put the wrong tyres on, so it didn't really mean anything.
Ah, the Ferrari strategy.
Yes, the Ferrari strategy, indeed.
Well, Finley, hey, a great race out there, all things considered. Welcome back in a very great race, battling for the lead for a large portion of it. A good way to return, and hope to see you back up here more often. A lot of fun watching your race. And before we let you go, who do you want to give a shout out to that helped to make that second place possible for you?
Team Goon Squad, obviously Paul Gibson for driving a brilliant race. He definitely deserves that win. Also for everyone else, not crashing and not causing any safety cars as well. Although maybe in the last part of the race I would have wanted one. But, you know, it is what it is, I suppose. Everyone should have a brilliant race. Of course, you, James, up in the broadcast booth for putting up a great broadcast every week, as always.
Well, thank you as always, my friend. A lot of fun having you back up here, whether you're in the booth or out on track. Always enjoy the company, and hope to see you carry that momentum in the future rounds here at the IndyCar Series.
Thank you, James. See you.
Thank you, sir. That was Finley Fitzsimmons finishing second. But up next, the man, the myth, the legend, Paul Gibson, making it back-to-back here at the Racing's for Children IndyCar Series, representing PG-13, and a very dominant win here tonight, Paul.
Yeah, that was a good one. This place is tricky, so biggest thing was just to survive it and get good points. So looks like most of us on PG-13 did that. Actually, all of us that made it in did that. So that was good.
Now, Paul, during the broadcast tonight, we were talking about the vortex of danger, and it seemed like that 31 machine was squarely in it in the last 4 or 5 laps, watching the 3 and 4 car battle in front of you. At what point did you decide, you know what, I'm just going to watch this show and make sure Finley doesn't gain too much ground?
Yeah, I was looking at the relative and I saw the gap that I had. I was like, yeah, I think I'm just going to ride around back here. So, yeah, I just backed off and just maintained that, just made sure that gap didn't close a whole lot or anything. But those guys were actually going pretty quick. So, I wasn't like I was holding up or anything. They were in their own race and going fast. So it wasn't a big deal to hang out back there.
Now, did you see a possible race win dwindle through your fingers when I think it was King threw it away right before the Wall of Champions? It looked like you had to do a little bit of evasive maneuvers.
That was scary. Yeah, that was a little bit scary. I don't know what happened there, but yeah, that was something. And so I just turned him. I just gave him as much room as I could. And kind of squeaked through there. So that was close. Yeah.
Yeah, white knuckle all the way around, but great racing. I mean, all throughout the night, you and Fitzsimmons really going at it. Looked like you had a 4-second a 4-second faster pit time that helped away. And then from there out, smooth on sailing. So good to see you back up here, dominant, the first driver to go back-to-back this season. I need to look at the math once this is done, but you may have taken over the points lead from Weatherholt after this evening.
Yeah, it'll be close. I'm not sure what it'll be, but yeah, I'll have a look here in a little bit.
Well, going to be a good season if this is any indication of it. And Paul, as always, my friend, not as always, but at least back-to-back, you've got the privilege, the pleasure, the final send-offs of the night. Who do you want to give a shout to that helped make it happen for you?
Yeah, just to you guys for broadcasting, the guys running the league, first and foremost, and then to Matt Gosh, who wasn't able to make it tonight for the paints on our PG-13 cars, and then Control F Media and some of the other sponsors that we have there as well.
Awesome, Paul. Congratulations again, my friend. Good to have you back, and let's see if you can be the first-time 3-in-a-row driver next week.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, bye.
And that was Paul Gibson rounding out the top 3, the very top spot for Paul Gibson with PG-13 bringing home the win, a commanding 10.5-second lead over Finley Fitzsimmons finishing second, and Nickel Kopkar will round out the top 3. As always, on behalf of the MSR IndyCar Series.net, my name has been James East with Team Goon Squad Broadcasting. Thank you all so much for showing up, supporting the league, supporting the drivers, the broadcast, and most importantly, supporting the Racing for Children's charity. We couldn't do without you guys. Thank you all so much for spending your Tuesday afternoon with us, and I'll see you at the next one. Have a great night, everybody.